So switching gears a little bit to lean from your perspective, because you say you've been making stuff for over a decade. Yeah. And so when I think about, I don't remember you from like the Vine era. Were you in the Vine era too, or did you start after that?
I dabbled I was on Vine for like a little bit, but it was actually an app before Vine that I was mainly on. It was called Cinemagram, and it was basically Vine, but without sound. It was like videos without sound, basically. So you had to express, and you had to act with like your face and your actions more than like you just talking.
So when I look at so you were before that era. Did your numbers start growing like in the last couple of years, or were you growing steadily, or did you have like a big jump?
I had my big jump was on that app, the Cinemagram. Like I started doing the skits for like just fun, just because I enjoyed it, and then eventually like the app creators reached out to me, and I was like, oh damn, I must be making some noise. That's when I realized, okay, I got to keep the ball moving with this.
Right.
But that's really when I started to hit it off.
When you came to YouTube after, I'm assuming that died down, and then Vine came and went. Were you able to bring that community to YouTube pretty easily?
Yeah, I jumped from that app to YouTube. It was different because it was like, damn, I gotta make longer skits. Now I'm working with sound. Now I gotta speak and be funny. So yeah,
that's wild.
It was it.
Because I think about like you, RDC World, Caleb, there's a couple other bros that all of y'all seem like y'all started at the same time within that Vine era. And like I saw a lot of them, but I didn't see you until I guess probably during COVID. That it might have been, and we'll talk about this, that might have been just because the algorithm, and that's another thing about YouTube per se. For the people in the chat, we were doing a little bit of Corey Kenshin discussion beforehand. And I know that's also just part of the experience of making content on YouTube in general, is that you may have an audience that you've built organically in those other places. You have an audience, Richie, that you built organically from the audio cast, but YouTube like provides you an audience automatically. But the audience don't have no loyalty to you. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to explain. I always want to talk about this because as people want to come on, because YouTube, I don't know how much money people are getting on TikTok and Instagram Reels, but I feel like, well, I've talked to enough people to feel like YouTube money is a little more steady, especially depending on how your input and your work ethic and your production values, etc. But the finicky part is, every video, you might have 100,000 fans. You got like 400,000 subscribers, right, Lean?
Yeah.
And so like every video, you're not gonna get it's not gonna send everybody your new video. It's gonna be like, you know what? I think only these motherfuckers like your video. Like the whole list you got is like, yeah, only about half of them. And then we gonna send it to a bunch of people who ain't never heard of you and see what happens. And like, if the video pops, then that's great. You know what I'm saying? That means you can grow your base, et cetera, et cetera. But if it don't, it's really nothing you can do about it. And so that makes like connecting communities so important. And it makes it makes it hard for me to have been watching RDC World probably for years now, since they got off Vine. But like it took like 2 or 3 years for your content to pop up on the feed. And it's like, YouTube, I like dudes making skits about, anime and Batman. Why did it take so long to get here? YouTube, and what's kind of dangerous as creators is YouTube wants you to do exactly the same thing you've always done. Whatever you did to get views, YouTube will reward you for doing that over and over and over again. And so whenever you take a chance to do something different, you gambling on, I always say the algorithm's like a credit score. And so like, if you say, look, I need to try something different, and the algorithm's like, yeah, we wasn't feeling it, we ain't sending it to nobody. You know what I'm saying? All your fans want this, that, and the third. Then you have to really be convicted to like, I know I'm gonna experiment, I'm gonna expand my audience, I'm gonna change things up. So when you talk about like collabing and putting that together on Lean's channel, like I get why some people at the start were like, we want something different. But like, yeah, as you keep going And and this is more about lean, how you want to do your channel, because like the end result would be like how long you going to experiment versus when you coming through with the next skits. It all ends up being like a, it's I guess it's part of the game. It's part of the creative process. Talk to me about that actually. What, and so actually I'll start with you, Lean, in particular, because that was that was what brought it to my attention, was the fact that you were in it in like a part of the production. So like when you're like making these skits, because you also have high production value for no shade to anybody else doing like skit comedy, brothers doing skit comedy, but like everybody else is holding their camera here. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else is playing two characters. It's really impressive. That's impressive. But everybody else is holding two cameras. I'll come to you. You got red backlights. You got 4-5 characters in the shot. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
It's actually, I met the cameraman that shoots my recent skits through Mondaze. Like he was shooting Mondaze. He was like, "Yo, we should link up and shoot some skits." I'd be down to do that. I was like, "Oh yeah, most definitely." Like, you ain't gotta tell me twice.
But what brought that out? Like, what made you kind of take it to just what is writing a skit look like from your perspective? Like, how do you even get to the point where, what if Batman's goons was talking to each other? I'm sorry, what if Joker's goons were talking to each other?
Honestly, I love superhero stuff, and I just came upon a question one day. I was like, it must really suck being black in Gotham City. Like, that gotta be a shitty experience. Like, you got like all these criminals running rampant, and you just a regular guy trying to put food on the table for yourself. So you trying to do crime, and then you gotta worry about multiple things. You gotta worry about Joker. You gotta worry about the villains first of all. Then you gotta worry about Batman over your head.
Right.
You at the docks just moving shipments out of nowhere. You like, hold on, bro. I ain't even like. Look,
I got a little weight on me, Batman. Just take it.
I mean, most of my skits start from like simple ideas, and I just expand on it. Like the N-word video I did, that's idea sparked from like my friend Niles. Like, we were in an argument about basically like what's acceptable to do in a skit and what's not acceptable, because he's used to pushing the boundaries and stuff, and I was like, bro, you got dial it back a little bit. You don't want off put your audience. He was like, nah, bro, either it's okay or it isn't. You can't push black person to say the N-word to another black person. Like, I know that didn't go smoothly. I know he was like, wait, what did he? What you just called me, bro? Like, I know that went weird. That had to have been wild for that dude. Like, so I'm like, I got to stay on that.
Yeah, I guess I'm similar. Like, it's influences, like things I like to consume. Like my next video is about sex. And specifically, it's about like conservative ideas around what's appropriate sex. Because I was watching, we're not gonna go there too deep, but I was watching some Andrew Tate shit. And he said something along the lines of sex is boring. And I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, what do you got to be doing for sex to be boring to you at 40 years old? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you really doing? What are you really doing with your, like, I know part of it is just flexing, but like, that's a mindset that goes. So then that just kind of opened up a rabbit hole. Like, okay, then let's research the politics. Let's research the conceptualization of gender, etc. Back to you, Richie. Like, were you working a normal job and then like thinking about being a creative, and that's kind of how that's the vibe I get, because I know that feeling when you got your task and it's like, I'm gonna finish this task, then I'm gonna get to this idea. You know what I'm saying?
So I just want to piggyback off what both of y'all said in terms of like how ideas sprout, because I was talking to Lean yesterday about writer's block, and I was like, I'm trying to get out this writer's block, and usually it'll come from like a situation or like a hypothetical, like, what if such and such did this, and then it'll just sprout into like a whole thing. So I definitely relate to y'all on that. Just like, it usually starts with one thing. You could like not have or feel creative for a while, and then it just sprouts and snowballs from there. But as far as my background into writing and then going into Mondaze, I was working a regular ass corporate office job, right out of college, suit and tie, and I went to school for like video production, audio production, all that good stuff. I was a digital media major, so I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna get a job in that field, and yeah, we gonna try to make our way and make stuff. And that absolutely did not happen. I wasn't able to find a job in that field. And, coming from where we come from, it's like, all right, you went to college, you need to get a job. I'll just take a job. Just take a job at a bank and do this, to hold it down. And I found myself in that for like 4 years. And I had to capture that the feeling that I would go into the office. It was a predominantly white office space. And so just like not seeing many other folk that I could relate to within the office space, and already feeling like this isn't even what I want to do in my life, just compounded that aspect to the point where like I felt like I needed to create to express myself, like, or I was gonna live like a corporate drudgery life forever. And yeah, that's really where Mondaze came from. Like I wanted to encapsulate that. Obviously shows like The Office and Office Space, that movie back in the 90s, I think.
Sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you. There's so many things today even that capture like that millennial angst of what is life, especially within this office space. And I just wanted to make something to encapsulate that, and that was really where it stemmed from. I had a good friend, I'll shout her out, her name's Penny, that was working there with me. We were two of the only black people, and we had a conversation one day, just kind of about how it made us feel and things like that, like how working at a space that feels like it's stifling you makes you feel, and that's really where the show came from. I would shoot her like notes, like, hey, I think I would have a character do this, because we kind of be having conversations about I don't know whether it's coffee or why does this person feel they know me well enough to divulge something at work, those type of things. And so it started with me sending like notes, and then it just spiraled from there into a script. So that's kind of really where the show itself, like where I worked at, was nothing like that. That the show itself, they're working at like this tech startup company. I worked as a loan processor, like very boring paperwork job.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Best 4 years ever. But in terms of the feeling that I wanted to get across, it was born from my experiences.
Right. So, Lean, did you work? How old are y'all? If y'all mind me asking? I just say late 20s.
Yeah, late 20s. I'm 27.
28.
So if y'all have worked, it ain't been for long. Which congratulations, because I worked until last year, and I can tell you're not missing out on much. I did fulfilling work, at least. Like I was a teacher, and I did a lot of stuff with like at the community level, so I was helping people, but it's still stressful. And my last job was more of a behind the scenes office type of job. Lean, did you work before, or have you been able to keep it like creative, keep your work creative the whole time?
I think my last job was like Sam's Club.
Oh man, Lean, that's privilege, bro. You got Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I knew that wasn't it for me though. I couldn't stand it. Like I just can't like clocking in and working like hours of the day. It was like, I could be doing anything else right now. Like I could. Like the way my mind is, I'm like so creative all the time. I'm like, dang, I could be doing this, I could be doing that, I could be, and that's back when I started shooting skits. Like that's like way back when I started. So I would much rather be doing that. Right. Like my mind be racing at work. I'm like, dang, I gotta push out of this. Everybody need money, so I was like, I gotta pivot this into some way so I can make money and I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah. Like that angst of being a college-educated black person, especially a college-educated black man. Mm-hmm. And I went to Clark, and so I came out with a production degree too. And I actually was lucky in that I had started. I have a funny story about hearing Akon's music before he got big and thinking it was bad. The long story, like my mama knew Akon mama, and I went over there for some African food. And she played Akon's music, and I was like, "What is this? This is awful." All right. And they're like, "You should intern and learn." I'm like, "Yeah, all right." And then then I find out it's Akon, and Locked Up hits, and I'm like, "Damn, might have fucked up there." And that's how I knew I wasn't built for it. you know.
Right.
And so then I'm working at Circuit City. You know what I'm saying? And I head back to school to kind of reconfigure like what I was going to end up doing with my degree. But the point I'm trying to get at is that like when you're black and educated and you don't have that dream job or that career path that is sold to us, that is kind of a shock thing. And I think for millennials in particular, like I feel like the Z's are going to be better off because the Z's, like we got hustled is the long and short of it. Millennials, we got hustled, we got suckered into the situation, and like nobody told us the truth until I was like, oh really? Like after the fact. And so we're figuring it out. Whereas the Z's are like, look, I can tell y'all motherfuckers not about to play me with this with this
They knew what's up. They knew the jig was up. Yeah.
They're not. Y'all not to play me with this dream job nonsense. Because as we talk about being creatives, right? I always try to be one like grateful because I feel like it's a blessing to have. I talked to one of my homies, CJ the X, and we're like in very different like worlds because CJ's Canadian, CJ's non-binary, CJ's a real artsy, like a fine arts person, plays like 7 instruments and shit. But we both made our first videos were both about Hamilton, and we had the same argument, and we're like really good friends now because there's a specific skill set and like thing in your head that if you do this kind of like what we're doing, nothing else is gonna reward you like this rewards. I made the joke in one video. It's like y'all think I'm cool and I appreciate that, but understand when I'm in a normal setting where I can't hyper focus on the topic, where I can't break down, like if a normal conversation with me at a party is not this, because you can't have this conversation at the kickback. You gotta get into a whole different frame of mind. I'm sure, Lean, you can't be like, yo, but what if, but like that's a basement dorm room. You know what I'm saying? That's a dorm. That's everybody come over, play 2K and smoke type of idea. Yeah. Versus like we at the dinner party idea. And so the talent to do this is a double-edged sword, because I pray everybody has fulfilling work, or at least doesn't feel exploited and dehumanized by their work. But I also know like that was kind of the point of the I Dream of Labor video, because I wasn't gonna talk about it because I was like, this seems like a real driven by like kind of a aesthetics blogger thing. And then a lot of it was just clearly like a hustle. Like, I can teach you how to be a YouTuber and influencers. Like, motherfucker, no, you can't. You can't teach people how to do this. And that's kind of the thing I struggle with, is one, being grateful and like letting people know like, yeah, work sucks. And like, it does help when you can do things that are fulfilling. But also, everybody can't do YouTube. Everybody can't write a script. Everybody can't play characters and have it be convincing and like move a production forward to be of quality and then after you're good at it, you got to get the algorithm to respect you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the other thing, is like you might put in so much work. I put in the least amount of work on the boat burning video. That was a 2-shot video. I wrote that script in a day or two, you know what I'm saying? Didn't think too much about it. And that's the video that blew me up versus like, you know, my Mike Tyson video I worked on for like 2 months. You know what I'm saying? and it's still, and I had to, it has, I guess, collectively 200 some thousand views now. But like the first time it came out, it had 500 views and like nobody saw it. I blew up and it finally got to 100. And then YouTube struck it and I had to take it down and re-edit it and start it from scratch. Like, that's the other part to this game, that like, even if you have talent, even if you're lucky, connections, knowing a homeboy that knows a lean, knowing to go to the screenwriters conference and like having time to work on that skill. Right. And that's why I'm so serious about like trying to connect with creators, you know, that I can vibe with on some level, because you know, God knows what's gonna happen after this Corey Kenshin shit, you know, plays out. I feel like it'll be all right, but we'll see. But like, it's really important for black creators to at least dabble in each other's communities. Because the way these algorithms are built, they're not built with us in mind. They're built with whoever does the TikTok dance and Mr. Beast fans. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That formula works perfectly. What we're doing, it's like, I don't know what these niggas are, but I don't see race. Like,